Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to be here. Thank you to Professor Claire to try to do this effort because, as the last speaker was saying, we really feel the same about getting funding, about the difficulties understanding these behaviors and the need to work together. So maybe we have these very different cultural assets, but we, I think, should participate in this effort. So thank you very much. We're really honored to share as an academic and this lived experience space. So we are going to talk about the body-focused repetitive disorders treatment for professionals training on Spanish-speaking individuals. This experience we have had in Mexico since 2018, and it's not just my work. We are participating also with Janet Wolpert, who is on the chat, and Ileana Betsabe Ferrer Chavez. And I just want to mention I had my first opportunity of learning about the body-focused repetitive disorders on my family. And then on 2010, I knew or started reading and knowing in person the work of Martin Franklin at the University of Pennsylvania, and starting seeing how the youngest kid he saw then was an 18-month child who has having these behaviors and the need to do the things we're still doing now, almost 14 or 15 years afterwards. So first of all, we would like to give you a little bit of image of how I believe now, as I have been listening to you, how the body-focused repetitive behaviors are in worldwide, but in Mexico also. So there is very limited information amongst patients and health providers. Mostly the diagnosis is not done by mental health specialists, but by dermatologists or GPs. Very few of the persons who have these behaviors are referred to mental health providers. It seems that they are not present because as they are not kind of very severe disorders, they are not really mentioned on academic spaces. There's not a training for mental health specialists from universities, from charities. There's a confusion because as the DSM has been changing, people really think they are just nervous habits. They think it's all just about an anxiety disorder. There's a thing you cannot control, and this can be used as a diagnosis and not giving it its importance and its impact for people in their lives and their families. In case of children, we have no directories for patient referral, except because we have an OCD clinic on the National Institute of Psychiatry in Mexico, who has a little bit of work about that. And of course, we don't have enough research about looking to cultural diversity. We jumped into the databases, the most important databases, because as I was telling you, I am a lecturer at UNAM, that it's the biggest university in Latin America. And we have two databases, the database about dissertations, and we have thousands and thousands of data, and we have 133 careers. We work a little bit different than the UK about departments. And we only have in the history of the university two dissertations, one on 1216 and one on 2008. And these dissertations that are in Spanish, and I will translate, one is a dentistry student who was worried about these habits of people beating their nails and having scoriation and eating their nails. And the other dissertation is of GP who made his specialty was in psychiatry, and he did a study with 26 patients with trichotillomania. Then when we take a look in the biggest database about books, we found that we have 4 books on a 1,000 book database, comparing just 4 books. And when you look at depression in English or Spanish, we have more than 1,600 books about depression and approximately 1,200 books under the keyword anxiety. So this makes us really understand maybe it's just a little bit of ignorance, and maybe it's not interesting for anyone. So it's difficult for us as researchers, psychotherapists, and patients to look at information, studies, or something to understand what are they living. We do have one book, because we have 4 books, and then a 5th book that it's on our National Library, but it's under the nervous keyword. And it's this really, really famous book of Habit Reversal of Asrin and Non, that maybe on this 3rd wave, psychotherapists could be really pretentious to say we could control a habit in a day. And the translation of this habit control in a day is treatment of the nervous habits. So again, this kind of reflects the confusion that psychotherapists, mental health researchers have, and patients. The most outstanding finding for us was that the most important journal in psychiatry, that's called Salud Mental, has no papers at all about trichotillomania or excoriation or anything about body-focused repetitive disorder. So this shows what we really need to do. We do have, as we are neighbors of the US and they are so close to us and they do a little bit more of research and have funding, these very nice books that you could download. I am including the website because they give you the first pages for free in a PDF file. And the translation to Spanish, it's a more Spain version. It's not a Mexican version, but it's called something like Going Through Your Manias or Your Habits. So this is a very good book for children who really tries to explain. But the problem is the title in English, because as we are saying now under this 3rd generation psychotherapists, there are not good or bad emotions. So this shouldn't promote shame, that it's something we have been talking about on this conference. No, they are not bad habits or good habits. They are just behaviors that people have and they shouldn't feel ashamed. And the title, maybe when it was written, it could contribute to the stigma. So when you look at the publications on the Google Scholar, for example, these are the examples of the last 5 years. And again, you see that papers are being written from the dermatologist or medical side, radiologist even. And there's just one work with a social worker that has worked with families on our National Institute of Psychiatry. So this is the state of the art of how are things going on in Mexico, sadly. I believe we are not alone in this. This is a very important cause we should help. And since 2018, I was telling you that we have been working with a charity that is called BFRB in Spanish. It's we have some private funding from the lived experience of a family who had a problem and try to help now patients who have no access for psychotherapy, for information. We are really small, but we have the coordinator, we have a psychologist and an intern. I am the scientific board from UNAM, and we are trying to do a little bit of work with what we have. So we have been training mental health professionals. We have had 25 students taking our training. We have made this directory of the psychotherapists who have been trained. We have had more than 30 webinars and workshops in Spanish, including the annual October Awareness Week. We have had a lot of beneficiaries because we are answering mails, looking at the social media, we are referring patients, and it's not just Mexico because Latin America is in the same place as us. So that's why we are called CRCC Spanish, for the Spanish-speaking patient. We have the social media interactions. We have had developing children's book, testimonials video. We have been doing a lot of talks in educational institutes, providing awareness to sensitize on the prevalence of behaviors, mainly in teachers of elementary education. We have been making a workshop on the summer for children and currently running research for the prevalence on Spanish-speaking women. And we have been continuing collaborating with medical communities, healthcare professionals, medical groups, and the community at large. These are our three main tasks: our community interaction with this manual for children that Ileana brightly designed. The image on the center is the research we are doing right now. We have had, of course, trouble trying to attract people to answer our questionnaires, and our training for mental health providers that include psychologists and psychiatrists. So our components of the training for psychologists are that we want to share a little bit of epidemiology, knowledge about the BFRBs, and understand them as an OCD spectrum behaviors with some impulsive traits, not anxiety disorders or just nervousness. We try on our training to make colleagues fight with stigma, have a good assessment of BFRBs, even though we don't have validated measures for Mexican populations. We just are translating the ones that are in Spanish. For example, the generic BFRB scale 8 from Moritz and colleagues from 2022. And we include the 3 waves of training. So we do habit reversal training. We also work with self-monitoring of thoughts and behaviors. We do an assessment with adults of personality traits, styles, or try to assess if there's a personality disorder that could also help us explain the cognitive explanation. We work with cognitive distortions, self-regulation of emotional states like boredom, anxiety, stress as seen as an excess of stimulation, mindfulness, not trying to promote dissociation, but accept and connect with emotions, turning into your values with ACT, and if needed, social skills training. So what comes next for us? We need to measure the changes in the levels of information, stigma, and clinical skills to assess and treat the BFRBs after receiving our training. So, and we need to get published if there are really changes with the training. We have to increase the work with GPs, schools, and families. We are trying to make more workshops on summer for kids and parents. We need to keep on participating on research projects, or we are open for invitations if there's someone who could think of us as researchers. Also, work a lot with cultural awareness and considering the lived experience of patients. We have to continue fighting stigma and sharing information through social media. Keep the collaboration with other professionals to increase the social media content, because for now our scientific board is quite little, and continue collaboration with prevalent studies and understanding these cultural differences. So these are our social media ways of contact, and just would like to thank again for having us today on this wonderful conference. Thank you very much.